Are you ready to untangle from your past, recover from heartbreak, and revive your life? This is Soul CPR with your host, Ann Papayoti. We've all had soul-crushing experiences and lost ourselves in our pain, but there is a way out. On this podcast, Amazon best-selling author, award-winning life coach, and advice columnist Ann Papayoti helps us navigate the path from heartbreak to healing. So now, please welcome the host of Soul CPR, Ann Papayoti.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in today. I'm delighted you've joined me for today's conversation, but before we get into today's topic, I have some follow-up from our previous episode. I've had several people reach out to me following last week's show with Sarah Smart, and on her behalf and all abuse victims, thank you for your outpouring of love and support, and also pride in her healing success. I did want to say out loud thank you to her high school coach who noticed and spoke up and tried to stand up for her to create an intervention. Now, if you remember from her story, Sarah was scared and never went back to school, but I had a conversation with Sarah just a few minutes ago, and she actually said that it was the first time that she actually felt like somebody cared and noticed, right? Now, I applaud that coach, and I know that Sarah was probably scared, and she talked about during the show having protected her abusers and all of this. But I also wondered after the show, what would any of us do if we noticed a child that might be neglected or abused? So I wanted us to know that in the United States, you can get information and assistance by calling or texting the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-422-4453, or call your local police and let them investigate a situation you may have concern about. Now, she was talking about, at the time there was no CPS or whatever. If a child didn't speak up or agree for help, it was just sort of ignored and maybe brushed under the rug. But that's not the case now. Now, I don't know if Sarah also ever got the apology she is due. She did get a message from her father last week after the show that he hoped that by sharing her story with us, she found some healing. Sarah also told me that he had apologized for everything she went through with him. That's not the same thing as taking responsibility for being at one's hands, right? She said her mom never apologized or took responsibility, but did say at that dinner that Sarah was able to take her to not long before her passing, that was the first time her mother ever told her she loved her. And that Sarah still struggles with that concept of love to this day, as you can imagine, because if that's a definition of love, then what does that mean, considering how she was treated growing up? And she said that she still accepts as love things that other people who had normal, healthy relationships never would. She said that she is still trying to sort through a lot of this, that she's just now really in her 40s starting to come to terms and starting to comprehend everything that happened in her life, and that she is just now, that diagnosis that she revealed, that's just now happening. So this healing journey is really just now happening. The successes came because she stood up and took determination and made decisions. She said she had people her whole life tell her she wasn't going to make it. She'd be nothing but trash and this and that because of the way she was raised. And she said she asks these people now why. And she said, because how would you ever get beyond that and past it? But she said the bigger question for her now is, why did you not help me? And she actually sees these people as contributing to the abuse because they did not nobody stood up and took it a step further, even though they knew. So again, if you have awareness or even suspicion of child neglect or abuse, notify someone in local authority. All right, with that, let's get back to today. Episodes 41 and 42 are the first two in the series that led us to want more discussion after some scheduled guests on letting go. And interestingly, letting go is about trust and attachment and control and things that we have addressed with guests since those first two episodes in different ways since starting the series. And we began the series talking about emotional drivers, love, fear, anger, and that those keep us holding on to what no longer serves us. And we talked about barriers to letting go, including habits and attachments, memories, and the natural human resistance to change. In part two, we addressed the weight of guilt and regret after letting go, that emotional aftermath that so many of us are not prepared for once we've made the decision and even taken the action to let go. We talked about and shared why those feelings linger and how to move through them to find peace and freedom on the other side. Now, today, we're going to come full circle to conclude the art and science of letting go, freeing yourself for a fulfilling life. And we're going to address shifting mindset from control to trust. What does that mean? It means really accepting uncertainty in life. Does uncertainty make you uncomfortable? If so, what does the word faith mean to you? Is it only associated with religion or spirituality? Or can faith also mean trusting what you're not certain of will turn out okay? And can it simply mean believing without seeing a guarantee, or trusting that all is working for you and not against you? And for some of us, an outer faith, religion, or spiritual is an anchor that helps us and is intertwined in this ability to let go of uncertainty, and yet we fail to draw from it in everyday circumstances. Regardless, let's start with the notion that letting go requires shifting from a mindset of control to trust. Let's just start there, shall we? So, with that, letting go isn't just about releasing people or circumstances or expectations. It's about trusting that even in uncertainty, we are safe. Yet trust does not come easily, especially for those of us who have relied on control as a way to protect ourselves. The science of it is that control is often our brain's way of creating safety and predictability. And since childhood, our nervous system has learned to kick into high alert when things feel uncertain. And if we've experienced trauma, abandonment, or betrayal, the need for control can become even stronger. It feels like the only way to avoid getting hurt again. Now, we talked about betrayal trauma and trust with Dr. Yasmin in episode number 44. So you may want to go back and have a listen to that one if you've not done so yet. Think of someone who constantly plans everything, like on the level of even what to say in a conversation before the conversation has even happened, or what to do in case of an emergency. Not a bad thing, right? Or how to keep people happy. It may look like perfectionism or over responsibility, but underneath, it's often fear. Does this sound like you? or someone you know? And when you think of it that way, the truth is control is an illusion. And no matter how much we plan, life remains unpredictable, doesn't it? And so clinging to control doesn't prevent uncertainty. It just exhausts us. So think about it for a minute. What is one area of your life where you feel you need to control everything? And what would it feel like just to release a little bit of that control? Would you decrease a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of stress in your life? Would it be freeing, or does it give you more stress and anxiety to think about letting go of control a little bit? Be honest with yourself. Assess it just a bit. I find that we often believe that if we control everything, we can prevent pain and disappointment, or I don't know, perhaps failure. But in reality, control is just a coping mechanism. It does not change outcomes. And in the end, as we learned with Dr. Yasmin, with trust comes risk. And without risk, perhaps you could say, and actually people do say, no reward. After all, we're saying today that letting go leads to life fulfillment, right? But back to control for safety and security. An example may be to think of imagining someone, maybe you don't have to imagine too greatly, maybe you do this, checking their partner's texts or social media out of fear of betrayal. They believe if they monitor everything, they can prevent heartbreak, but in doing so, they only create anxiety, resentment, and emotional exhaustion, doubting everything, questioning everything. Could it be? Is this a sign of betrayal? But here's a truth bomb for you. Surrendering control does not mean giving up. It means accepting that we're not meant to micromanage every outcome. Can we really micromanage fate? And when we stop gripping so tightly, we allow life to unfold in ways we never expected. So try this on for size, a shift in perspective. Instead of asking, how can I control this? Try asking, how can I trust that everything is going to work out as it's meant to? Now, I know that's easier said than done. It feels counterintuitive, right? But the more we let go, the more power we actually gain. Why? Because when we stop forcing things, we free up energy for what truly matters. It's time for our first break in the show, but don't go far. When we come back, we're going to pick up right there with some real life examples to try to convince you to let go of control and replace it with trust. Be right back.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
And welcome back to Soul CPR. We are talking about letting go to really free your life up to be more rewarding and fulfilling. So, when you think of letting go, what does it feel like? Do you feel angst or do you feel freedom? Well, a lot of people think about it and they actually feel fearful, or they feel like maybe it's giving up before they try harder and harder and harder. So think about a time when you maybe held on to something, a relationship or a job, or maybe even a belief because you feared the unknown. This comes up a lot in my practice. Maybe you've heard the saying, the devil I know is better than the one I don't. And the more you resisted change, the more painful it became. You know, the relationship you were in, the job you were in, the belief you held on to. But the moment you let go, even if the letting go was scary or terrifying, clarity and peace actually followed. So, do you have an example in your own life of that? I'm sure you do if you think back. You know, Linus let go of his blanket. I wonder. But anyway, strength isn't always about controlling every detail. It's about trusting that even if things don't go as planned, you'll be okay. That's where the trust has to come in, and that's the strength, is believing in yourself that you're going to be okay regardless of the outcome. Let's take the story of Serena, a woman who spent years in an emotionally toxic relationship. Now, Serena stayed because she thought leaving meant failure. That was a belief, an interpretation she had about giving up, if you will. And that if she only tried harder, she could fix things. And she controlled every aspect of her life to avoid confrontation. So she walked on eggshells and suppressed her own needs in the relationship. And deep down, she knew she had to let go. But fear of the unknown kept her stuck or trapped, were her words, in this relationship. She had thoughts like, what if I never find love again? Or what if I regret leaving? Well, eventually, one day after months of self-reflection, Serena made the terrifying decision to leave. And at first, she felt lost, but something unexpected happened over time. She found herself. She built confidence in her ability to navigate life on her own. And she discovered that trust, rather than control, was the real foundation of a fulfilling life. Now, looking back, she wonders why she waited so long. And what she once saw as a loss turned out to be her greatest gain. And I share Serena's story because it's the same story of so many, is it not? Many who've stayed in a relationship well past its expiration date. Just last night in my support group, a woman named Isabel shared her story and gave me permission to share today with you. She recently went through a devastating divorce and the selling of a home that she had poured her heart and soul into. She said she had cried for 2 years after knowing the relationship was headed to divorce, feeling helpless, like with no control of the fact that they were still living in the same home, yet he was moving forward in life. And she had the inability to even pick herself up at this point. But eventually, what began with a decision, she started picking herself up. And everything that she had been criticized for previously, she challenged in her own thinking and reclaimed her thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. She got her own assessment of the home before selling it, educated herself on finances, and while letting go of the house was something that had to be grieved, she found a new one in her budget within a week of selling the home that she had loved for so long. And this new one, she absolutely adores and loves. I asked what she had to let go of for all of this to happen. And there were two parts to her answer. One, fear. Fear had almost held her back, but ultimately did not. Fear almost held her back from visiting an open house and being prepared to offer and negotiate on a new home for herself. And the second thing she had to let go of was the belief that life's dreams were supposed to happen as a couple. She said she'd spent her whole life waiting for others to go for her dreams and instead either had her dreams criticized or not realized at all. So, congratulations, Isabel. How does it feel to be off the sidelines and in the game of your own life? In a sense, having to be a couple because of culture, religion, or some ingrained expectation that has been set for you has created a way to control and set a certainty in life, perhaps, right? But at what cost? And in the end, with the freedom of choice by her partner to dissolve the marriage, the control structure was blown apart like a good old Kansas tornado. But letting go of control as your own choice can feel unsettling, especially if we've relied on it for a sense of safety, right? But true security does not come from controlling the outcomes. It comes from trusting what we are strong enough to handle that comes our way. Now, on my website, I have 3 words: survive, strive, thrive. And that is a series of things that happens as something unexpected happens in our life, or we make a decision that something has to change in our life. We first have to survive the storm and then strive to clear the path. So once we survive, because if we don't survive, nothing else matters, right? But then we have to strive to clear the path. And that's the work in front of you, just like Isabel did with educating herself and then challenging and clarifying her own thoughts and beliefs. And then enjoying the time of thriving with gratitude. And that's the stage she is moving towards now. And that time of thriving only comes with trusting in so many ways. But life doesn't work out on our schedule, does it? No, it doesn't unfold per a plan or per timing. So that waiting, the uncertainty, and the unexpected detours, if you will, can feel unbearable, especially when we desperately want change or healing or that clarity that we were talking about before. But so what if the timing that we resist is actually working in our favor? What if? Now, we often associate progress with action. So when things feel stagnant or delayed, it's easy to believe that nothing is happening. And uncertainty can then be terrifying because it's going to trigger our survival instincts. And then again, we're going to want to do what? We're going to want to control because we need that security and that predictability, especially when we're operating in that survival instinct. The science of why waiting feels so hard is the brain is craving certainty and dislikes the unknown, just like we said before. We fear that we're being left behind while others move forward. Can you imagine Isabel living in the home with her husband? They're divorcing. She's crying every day and he's going out on the town. We assume that if something hasn't happened yet for us, though, that it never will. But in reality, just because you don't see movement doesn't mean nothing is happening. Growth, think about it. Growth often happens beneath the surface, just like a seed buried in the soil before it breaks through the ground. I've got more examples for you from real client life experiences that I'm going to share with you that I'm sure are relatable for you. But we're going to take our second break. Don't go far. We'll be back with more Soul CPR.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. You're tuned in to Bold Brave TV. I'm Ann Papayotti, and this is Soul CPR. So we're talking about letting go, and that means letting go of control, and that means relying on trust. And I'm sharing some client circumstances that I feel most of us can relate to. I have another client who's much, much younger, and it's amazing how we all have the same situations when it comes to love. And she really was focused and desperately wanting to find love, and been on countless dates, feeling frustrated that things really weren't working out, and started questioning herself. Am I unlovable? Will I ever meet the right person? But waiting well is a concept that I try to instill in my clients. And eventually, she was able to adopt this too. And she unknowingly did the most important work during this waiting well period, and started looking at past wounds, which is something else that I have everyone do, and healing those wounds and recognizing she was bringing those into current relationships. And during this waiting well period, started building her self-worth and getting clear on what she truly wanted, and recognizing that what was going wrong wasn't about him. She was often looking at what he was doing wrong. And she started recognizing it was really that she wasn't ready for a relationship because she had this work to do on herself. And that delay, she was able to reframe and realize that it wasn't a punishment, it was a preparation period. And when she had that kind of aha insight, totally let go of having to be in a relationship and find the right person, and is doing amazingly well. She's actually going to be a guest on the show later. Actually, it's next month, I believe, and we're going to talk about dating in her stage of life, which is mid-20s. Now, what if life's delays weren't roadblocks, but redirections just like hers? Often what feels like rejection or failure is actually the universe moving us towards something better. Yeah. So reframing is something we do in coaching a lot. So what if we reframed our setbacks? Instead of thinking something like, this isn't happening for me, what if we tried a thought like maybe I'm being redirected for something even better? And what can I learn? And that question needs to be asked every time. What can I learn from this pause? Instead of feeling left behind, remind yourself everyone's timeline is different, and my path is unfolding exactly as it should. And that sounds like what? Trust. Trusting that everything is working out for you and not against you. So when it comes to healing, people ask me often, when will I feel better? I'm tired of hurting. This is overwhelming, etc. I encourage anyone hurting emotionally to recognize that it takes time and patience to heal emotional wounds, just like physical wounds. So rather than ask when, ask the what questions. What am I learning now? It's a shift in your focus away from your pain to your gain, right? And I promise every time you lose something, you gain something else, just like in one of the case studies I mentioned earlier. It just isn't always apparent right away, but there's always a gain when you lose or choose to let go. Now, healing never happens in one big moment, does it? And Isabel can attest for that. It's slow and gradual. It's in those moments when you recognize you laughed out loud for the first time in a long time, or when the mention of someone's name didn't cause tears to roll down your cheeks for the first time in a long time. It's a process of time. So be patient with yourself. However, this helps cultivate trust in yourself and faith when you allow this time and patience. You cannot have trust without faith, which is the ultimate letting go of certainty, is it not? Choosing faith over fear is something one of my clients and I talk about often, right, Tom? And when you're aware you have the option and the power of choice, wow, it makes a difference. You have the option of faith over fear. And when you're aware of that, you claim the power of choice to choose it. Now, sometimes what we want isn't actually right for us, is it? And then life steps in to protect us from something we can't yet see. And what may feel like missed opportunity might actually be saving us from something misaligned. So how do we trust the redirection, right? So reflect on past times when something didn't work out and later you were grateful for it, right? I think there's a country song about unanswered prayers, right? Remind yourself, if it's meant for me, it will come in the right way at the right time. That's trust. That sounds like trust, not fear. Let go of forcing and focus on flowing. Trust that what is truly yours will not pass you by. And yes, Maria S., I'm thinking of you right now. Okay. So let go of forcing and focus on flowing. That's what's truly yours will not pass you by, whether it's a person, um, a property, or anything else. Trusting life's timing means believing that things are happening for you, even when you don't see those immediate results. So the challenge is to remain open, to trust that delays and setbacks and redirections are all part of a bigger, better plan unfolding in ways you can't see. And that, my friends, is faith. I want to actually invite you all to participate in a challenge, and I want you to have fun with it. Let's call it the 24-hour, what did I call it? The surrender experiment. Okay. Here's the challenge. For the next 24 hours, that's all, consciously let go of control over one thing that normally triggers stress or anxiety for you. Do you accept my challenge? This is mission possible, not impossible. This could be letting go of trying to overanalyze a conversation. Just let it be. It could be releasing frustration in traffic delays or unexpected changes. It could be letting go of trusting an unresolved situation. Just trusting that it's going to work itself out without a forced solution, something like that. All right. For the next 24 hours, consciously let go of control over one thing that normally triggers stress or anxiety. What is it for you? How to participate in the challenge? 3 things. 1, set an intention. Today, I choose to trust. I release the need to control. Fill in the blank. And then I want you to observe your reactions. Notice when your mind wants to control, plan, or fix whatever this is. And instead of reacting, pause and choose to trust. Third thing is then to reflect and share. At the end of the day, either journal or voice record what happened. Did anything unexpected unfold? Were you able to let it go? Were you able to intercept yourself and feel the control starting to happen and then let it go? And if you're comfortable, share your experience with us by putting comments on this show wherever you listen or watch or download, or and hashtag trust the process and tag me at Ann Papayotti and at Soul CPR, or put it anywhere on social media, wherever you want to do it. I'm very excited to see what happens for you if you allow yourself this opportunity to truly trust the process and observe yourself for 24 hours. Now, the biggest trust challenge for many I work with is trusting themselves, because they feel they've made bad choices throughout their lives. They question their judgment and they fear making the same mistakes again, or believe they're incapable of choosing wisely in anything. But self-trust isn't always about making perfect choices. It's about learning to trust that you can handle whatever comes your way, as I mentioned before, no matter the outcome. But it also starts with self-awareness, and then it builds to self-mastery, and it's all wrapped up in self-love. And self-trust is possible, people, but it starts with small steps. And I'm going to give you a few little tips for that. because I hear the doubt through the airways of self-trust after bad decisions. But the first thing you can do is start by reframing those bad decisions as lessons and not failures. Okay? Don't let your past define your future. So let's take those bad decisions, reframe them as lessons and not failures. That's growth. Okay? Then separate the past from the present. That shows your growth. What would you do differently now if you were in the same circumstances, if they presented themselves again for some reason? Show yourself the lessons, prove to yourself the growth that you have had. Start with some small acts of self-trust. When we're with Dr. Yasmin, we talked about trust is consistency over time, small, consistent, repeated acts over time. Same thing to build it for yourself. But small acts of self-trust may look like check with yourself before you check with other people about something. Are you someone who always has to have other people's validation and opinions to make a decision? Stop that. Instead, ask yourself, what do I think? What do I feel? Learn how to do gut checks. That's how we're going to start checking in with our intuition. Make those small little commitments. Keep those small commitments to yourself. What commitments do you have? And if you don't have any, make them. Like a bedtime routine, a morning routine, habits. What are your habits that you want to commit to and keep? Keep those commitments to yourself. Reward yourself. That's an act of self-love for keeping commitments to yourself. Make peace with those imperfect choices from the past. So offering forgiveness to yourself, that's an act of self-compassion. This is going to build trust with yourself. I think that one thing that I would do, and I've done it with people in coaching sessions, is visualizing your future self trusting you now. You're growing into this person. So seeing yourself as strong and confident and happy, making strong, solid decisions. So seeing yourself as the person that you want to become is important. That's the power of visualization. Listen, every choice that you make with awareness and self-compassion and courage brings yourself closer to trusting yourself again. And again, letting go of that control of the outcome, but knowing that you can come through it, whatever it is, will continue on that building segment. It is time for our third and final break. And when we come back, some final and closing thoughts for you. Don't go far. We'll be back with more Soul CPR.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Mike Zoric, a 3-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a 6-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorick, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorick has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
And we're back for the final segment. Listeners, whether you accept the 24-hour challenge or not, I'd like to encourage you to take some time this week to ask yourself and spend some time in reflection. Like, where in life am I holding on too tightly? And what would happen if I trusted instead? Letting go is always life's lesson for freedom. Give it a try. Create a daily affirmation or journaling exercise to reinforce trust in life's unfolding path. Now, when we're talking about Isabel's story and others in here, I want to emphasize that healing is not passive. That's why when I say survive, strive, thrive, strive in the middle, that's really the work. Healing takes work. And there's a willingness question that people have to ask themselves to get in and do the work. But it leads to thriving. And I've seen so much of it. I'm so proud of the people that have come across my path and have been able to do that. And sometimes just asking for help is that first step, and it can take courage, I know. But if you find that you need more personalized and guided help with letting go of something or someone, then don't hesitate to reach out. You can go to my website, skyviewcoaching.com, and schedule a complimentary half-hour discovery session so we can have a conversation to help determine which of several coaching options may be best for you at this time in your life. I have a 12-week online Soul CPR course, and I have an 8-week Soul CPR private one-on-one coaching program. And those are just two options that take you through healing steps in a deep dive way. Guided journaling is also helpful for people in different situations and scenarios. And in my co-authored book, The Gift of Shift, Tracy and I share short personal stories illustrating difficult common life themes and how we shifted our perspective in each to not change our circumstances. That would be trying to control life, right? But to change how we were able to experience them. And each chapter is followed by 5 coaching questions for the reader to reflect on how the theme is played out in their own life so that they can become unstuck in a current situation, or so that they can remember and recall their strengths to help them move through a different but current circumstance. Themes include betrayal, grief, diagnosis, hope, being your own best friend, and more. So we've got those in the show notes for you. And as always, as this episode of Soul CPR is coming to a close, remember that healing is not a linear journey, but rather a process of profound transformation, and it requires your cooperation to heal. If today's stories resonated with you, share this podcast with those who might need a lifeline of their own. Subscribe, rate, and leave a review to help us reach more hearts. We greatly appreciate that. Again, you can connect with me on social media on Facebook at Skyview Coaching, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. It's at Ann Papayotti. Let me know your thoughts, your stories, and the topics you'd like to explore in future episodes. And do let us know how this challenge went for you if you participate. And until next time, may you find strength in your vulnerability and courage in your journey. I thank you for listening. Breathe deeply, love openly, and live soulfully.
This has been Soul CPR with host Ann Papayotti. Breathe life back into your spirit with each episode, where she and special guests explore the relationships that hurt us and discover that healing can only begin with you. Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.